Well, as promised, we've got a Harrier CBHQ base station which is coming, and as we speak, the microphone is going through the dishwasher. Not with the works, just the casing. This is one he's bought on eBay, and he sent it straight here. The vendor on eBay is somebody that I've known for years, and he's a licensed radio amateur. He does have real test equipment, a lot more than the Zitagi meter. He's got the real stuff, and he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't do this commercially. You know, this is something which he's obviously bought in a batch and moved on. So the person who's bought it off him, he sent it straight here, straight from the eBay seller, because he wants me to service it. And of course it puts me in an embarrassing situation because it's just been serviced by the vendor. But you know, I can do I can do a radio. I could do it again in a week's time. I'd probably find something to adjust. So we're not going to be critical, and that's not what we're here to do. We're just here to set it to the way we do things here. Now I'm going to take the bottom. What we are going to do is we're going to measure the parameters before. You know, we often do a before and after when the customer sets. So we don't want to send it back fixed worse. Oh, these vary, don't they? So where did the machine? Oh, they're not. None of them are machine screws. So I've got to take the bottom off because my customer wants the power supply capacitors changing. Actually, he probably hasn't told me about it, but he's getting the power supply customers. The customer's getting the power supply capacitors changed, whether he likes it or not. Because there's nothing worse than a power supply losing its regulation and suddenly doing 26 volts. I've missed a screw. Now bearing in mind these are 38 years old, and this has had a bit of a repaint job. And of course it's had a bit of a repaint job because very few of them are going to be pristine like they came out of a box. I was getting them in, shall we say, knackered in inverted commas, in just 3 months because of the teenage phantom twiddlers. Now these have got some unique side screws, and the one you see at the end of my videos has got these missing. And I'm not going to steal them. Look at that. Get my hand in under the camera. So you've got probably a M2, sorry, probably about M4, but it's got this extended shaft and an oversized head. So now these sides originally are of this vinyl veneer wood finish, and as I say, this has had a bit of a paint job because they do get scruffy, especially get scruffy when they've been shoved in somebody's shed or garage. So yeah, we get a lot of sets that have seen better days. I've just caught that bit of vinyl veneer on the edge, and I'm going to have to put some glue on that. All we could do better would be to make brand new oak cheeks, because I'm a church organ builder. It's the kind of thing we do. And it'd have to be, we don't do varnish, we do French polish. Dread to think how much that would cost, but if I ever bought one of these with no side cheeks, that's what I would have to do. I don't know what we do here. He's put, I know they fit and all that, but I think we'll replace, these non-Phillips screws, these flat screws, with Phillips ones. Again, you know, it's not wrong. It doesn't matter, but it's just something I can sort out so easily because we keep them in stock, and they're all of 6p each. So the only thing that holds my own lid on are these top screws. You have to kind of bend the case outwards so there you've got the innards. So it's Cybernet 134 chassis with a power supply, and we'll be changing these capacitors because now they're 38 years old. We don't want those to fail and cause a bit of a problem. I might clean the mains lead, it's got bits of paint on it, but that, you know, again, it doesn't matter. I've checked that the plug is a shrouded type plug, and we're going to check that it's got a 3 amp fuse in it. And it has a 3 amp fuse in it. We'll check that these connections are tight, because it's been in transit, hasn't it? Goodness knows where that plug's been. I'm not sure where we're going to plug it in. Oh, right over by the video mixer is a spare squacket. Okay, so I'll switch it on. Don't think we've got an oh, we have got a meter lamp, yeah. So he's left it on channel 20, which is great. That's it. Switch is all in the position we want them. First thing we'll do is we'll check this power supply. If the radio will produce 4 watts at 3.2 volts, at 13.2 volts, we'll set the power supply to 13.2 volts, and if not, well, we might have to set it as high as 14. I'll use our generic microphone whilst the customer's one is in the dishwasher. I wouldn't be surprised if G and 3 aren't the power supply output. Look at that, 13.68. So that's a very satisfactory level for the power supply to be at. So what we'll now do is connect the radio to our test equipment. These were £129.99 in 1981. You know, and that equates to over £1,000. And somebody I knew in Yorkshire, he came to our shop with one of these in 1982, February 1982, and he said to me, remember, you had this as a Christmas present, you know, only 10 or 12 weeks before. They'd been inside and he'd broken some of the horseshoes. So, according to him, the preset potentiometers are horseshoes. And of course, he'd turned the power supply one up to 4 because some screwdriver jockey says you get out better if you do that. Yeah, okay. And then if it goes beyond 16 volts, something's going to pop. So I did that for next to nothing. I mean, what a kind and expensive gift, and then he goes and does that. Right, we are connected up, so I better find our generic mic. Switch it back on. The receive light works on this. A lot of the times the receive light bulb has gone. It is a bulb and it needs to stay as a bulb. Okay, so we don't like the extension speaker in at the moment. for some reason, my camera 2, for some reason, I'll start again, only the overhead camera is on. So I'll go and see what's got unplugged. Oh, that sorted that out. One of the leads got tripped over. So what we need to do is to just jot down the parameters we've got. Now, what second-hand piece of paper shall we use? Will it be last Sunday's Bible reading? That's today's pickup. Thank you for your order. Mr. Chippy's been ordering model paints. We'll use that then. No wonder my printers cost me what it costs. We'll use the President instruction book to write on. Okay, so we'll switch to picture-in-picture. And we're going to transmit, and we'll unplug the extension speaker and it's doing 3.8 watts. That's fine. That is actually what it's supposed to be set to. It's not supposed to be set to 4. Right, deviation, wallow, 2.2. That is spot on, but we'll go through it anyway. Frequency, 2779146. That's very slightly high. That's just how, that's fine. TX is 2779146. I'm sure that if I did this on different instruments here, we'd have different results, even though they're all calibrated theoretically the same. But it's well within where it should be. But we'll just do that while I'm here. We'll just have it in line with what we do here. So we'll just pop that down a fraction. Just always keep it a little bit high. Oh, I'm not even showing you, I've got it on the wrong camera. So we'll just keep it a little bit high, and then it has room to drop because they drop naturally with age. So that's frequency done. So that's that. So that's good. And now we'll go for Sinad. Plug that extension speaker back in. Trouble is I can't see the back of it. It's with it being a base station. And this is a base station. You can also run on 12 volts. So you can use it as an emergency backup on a battery, or use it in a motorhome or a site hut or whatever you're wanting to do. So we'll switch to the Sinad meter. Just make sure the signal drainage is on 2779125. It's a very respectable 0.34 microvolts for 12 dB Sinad. Now, this vendor of these doesn't use a Sinad meter because he uses an alternative method, and there's nothing wrong with that because they weren't set up at the factory with a Sinad meter. It's just that I find it quicker in a commercial environment to do it. Whether or not we get anything more out of it, that's about what you'd expect anyway. I sometimes see 0.3, 0.27 on this chassis, but it doesn't mean that we'll get it because that exceeds specification. So he sold this as serviced. It is serviced, and there you go. Spot on. We're just going to alter things a little bit. Might get another 100 yards out of it. So we're going to check the VCO because I don't know whether he's done that. So channel 40. We'll plonk the meter in the works. Top end of resistor 4. Is that chassis? Do you know what? I think chassis is chassis. We'll just check it against the can. Yeah, makes it easy to service. I'm going to do this, and then I've remembered that I've not done the capacitors in the power supply yet. It might make a difference to the alignment, so I will do that next, but it won't make a difference to this, I'm sure. So I'll recheck it. So they want you to be on 4 volts for receive. So we'll just pop that onto 4 volts. It's just that it tracks properly with temperature, unlike the Midland blue screen 78 plus multi in the test car. So we'll just press transmit. We're going to get a wee, aren't we? If I press the right mic. I'm going to have to unplug that extension speaker. I can't cope with that. So that should be 4 as well. Despite using a ceramic tool, it's still wandering all over the place. I'm just going to waggle it around in case it's got some crud in it. Do you ever wish you'd never touched something? 4.1, that'll do me. So now we go to channel 1 and check the between 1.9 and 2.5 volts. So on receive we've got 2.17, which is fine, and on transmit we've got 2.26, so that's now set. But it wasn't not set before. It's just, you know, I'm being meticulous. I've been told to do everything possible. So I'm going to whip those 2 capacitors out. We will test them. They're clearly going to be working, but I'm sure the customer would like this to work for another 38 years and not have these pack up and the power supply go high, which is what can happen. So I'm going to I'll pause the video and we'll whip these out. I don't even know if we've got those in stock, but if we have, they'll be a lot smaller. Okay, well, everything's kind of gone pear-shaped because we haven't got any 2200 microfarad capacitors in stock. I want to go above 25 volts, which is what's in there, and we've neatly only got 16 volts, or we could move up to 3300, which I don't want to have to do. So I have changed the smaller capacitor, which was very easy to do. What was that then? 100 microfarads at 25 volts. And again, we've popped that up to 35 volts. So we'll just check these. I think what we're going to end up doing is putting back the original as a temporary measure, because these aren't now, because it's Friday, these aren't going to come through till Monday from RS. So that was okay, but it's going to be thrown away. And then just make sure that's discharged. I'll straighten up these pins. I've actually ordered Nikon for replacement, keeping with high quality. Okay, we'll try again. So starting to rise. Anyway, we'll put it back for now just so we can finish the job as far as the radio is concerned. But that's really frustrating. I got axial. This you know when the leads come out to the bottom like these, this is what is called radial. When the leads come out from either end, it's called axial. And in days gone by, everything was axial except CAN electrolytics. And we have got some axial ones, but it looks like a bodge when you put those in, and they're more expensive because they're now hard to come by. So although we've got those in stock, they're lots of money. Now what we normally do is, if we've got vast component stocks, not just for CB radio, for all kinds of stuff, but we also have what you would call development kits, and we use the comp card system. I'm going to have to zoom this out because it probably needs on top of this radio. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about the comp card system when I've put this capacitor back in this radio. For now, so we'll pop that back in there, probably. I think the tweeters have come for that radiogram, so to be honest, this should be abandoned whilst the radiogram, which is in front of this job, gets done. But I was only doing this because I was waiting for the speakers for that. So I'll just make sure that's pushed in sufficiently to make contact. Yeah. So this is going to be on the bench now till Monday. So there'll be no Saturday or Sunday videos. Though I might have a show and tell one about my Heathkit 1954 AT1 transmitter which I bought. Okay, so as a temporary measure we've got that back in. We've already done the VCO. I'm going to talk about the comp card system. And this is what we go over to when we haven't got parts in stock. This is an expensive system, very expensive way to buy parts. So we have this card, they're filed away in these filing things, and this is our Mylar polyester selection which we have. So this, when we run out of our normal stock, then we move on to these. We have storage bins, and they're kind of all in alphanumeric order and logged into a stock control system, which is on a DOS computer running software custom made for stock control of components called Stockit. This is the, I think this is the 1 watt, this is the 2 watt resistor kit, and normally we have 0.6 watt, so sometimes we need 2 watts, and that can get us out of many a situation. We have a 1 watt kit which is in the other room which Mr. Chipper uses, a 1 watt resistor kit. We have electrolytic kits which I'll show you, and we also have 0.6 watt. What would be quarter of a watt, but upgraded to the metal film 0.6 watt. And it's not only UK preferred values, it's international preferred values as well. So that is, they work out very expensive. And, you know, it's a bizarre way to pay. Each of those cards is about £100. You know, there's no messing about. And this is the electrolytic one. So it gives a selection from one, and this is the highest quality stuff. apart from moving on to Nikon, these are TPO. So when you actually look at this, there's a lovely space, and it's 2200 at 35 volts, which is missing. And you know what's happened. We've not got them in stock, so we've pinched them off the comp card, and we've not had it in stock again. It's got pinched off the comp card, and I think you only get 3 in the selection. And there we are. Even the comp card is now empty, and that then puts us in this silly situation that I actually have no parts in stock. So I've ordered a box of 50 Nikons, and they will come Monday, no doubt. And we'll replenish that with Nikons, and then we'll have them in stock as well. So that's my silly mistake, not keeping my eye on the ordering. Unless, of course, Mr. Chippy's been pinching them and putting them in his model aeroplanes or his guitar amplifiers. I somehow doubt it. So we'll go back to this, switch it on, and we'll just check that that power supply is still doing something like what it was before. .67. So we're not going to touch that. I'm happy that's a good position to be in, and let's just tune up the transmitter and see if we can get 4 watts. Put that camera back to there. I'm not available this afternoon. I've got some goods to collect from not Melton Mowbray, off eBay from Bletchley. It's about 80 miles. Okay, so we're on channel 20, so we want maximum on this coil, which was correct. We want maximum on this coil. We want maximum on this coil. Like that. Then we move over to 4, 6 and 9. And that's these here. And at this point we need to be maximum. And then we back it off. It's a green hexagonal tool. Good grief, this works better than normal. I can't say it's my nice new capacitor because it's not gone in. I don't often see them doing 5.8 watts. Okay, as ever, I've got to get the instructions from the service manual. I've no doubt that it said spot on 4 watts on Matey's test gear, or he might have set it to the 3.8 watts it's supposed to be set to. So adjust 4, 8 and 9 for maximum on your watt meter. Rotate L4 clockwise until you get 4.4 watts. So we're now detuning it. So we're going clockwise to 4.4. This is where we're setting the balance between channel 1 and 40. And then we adjust L9, which is this one, counterclockwise, that's the left for people who don't know about clocks, until it reaches 3.8 watts. But of course we're setting it to 4. But the manual quite correctly says 3.8. So that is spot on 4. Then what we need to do is just check on channel 1 and channel 40 that it's somewhere near. So we're now on channel 1, and it's spot on the 4, and now we're on 40. Hey, presto, it's spot on the 4. You often get it, you know, you might get 3.98 or something on one and 4.01 on another, and it really doesn't matter, but we've got it spot on, which is rare. So it's a really good example. We don't need to touch the power supply settings, so we're running it at 13.6 volts, which is better for the radio because it's running cooler. At least with unless the power supplies go up the spout and suddenly pass 26 volts into the electronics, unlike a car, all your other capacitors have been looked after by the power supply, because these are never set high unless they go wrong. Whereas in a car you can end up with dodgy alternators pushing out 15 volts, and end up with the Wally who put it in a lorry and blew the set up. So there's a lot of things which can't happen with a base station. So we'll just do the transmitted audio. I like that one set to center. This is rather my way rather than the manual way. We'll get that little detector, a little oscillator out. We'll just set up the deviation. You know what, that looks spot on, as I said earlier. So we'll just deal with such a wallop, 1, 2, wallop. It is absolutely spot on. So I've just adjusted that one because it's some kind of AGC or mic gain or something. I can't even remember without looking up the manual. But we do like that to center position, and then we're using that to do the deviation. So that is beautiful. So nothing to touch. So we want the meter to read, of course it's banging across now because we've upped the power a bit. So we'll just adjust that. So that's the preset there. We want it to read 4. And it now reads spot on the 4. It's not often you see the original lamps in these, and this has got all the original lamps. So it's a low mileage set. So low power, they can play up, and the controls can easily get dirty. So we'll just switch to low power, and it should be 0.4 of a watt. Look at that, it's 0.4 of a watt. You know, I could just touch that, I could just touch it and make it go. You know, it was 0.395 a watt, it's now 0.4. You know, we really are just clutching at the slightest thing here. Put that back to high power. We're banging across to a full 4 watts. But now it's cooled down, it's a fraction over. So, I reckon we've covered the transmitter there. So we're going to release this video with this capacitor still the original. And when you see the on the air test, which will be Monday, unless Mr. Chippy comes up with a secret supply of these capacitors, because there is another possibility, we'll have done that capacitor and you know, put it all together. So we'll do an on the air test later on. Poor customer's going to be jumping up and down in excitement to get his radio back, and it's delayed. So, receive. I'll just check I'm still on frequency. I am. So we're going to go over to this. The first thing we're going to do is a detector. Turn the bench light off. Put an S9 equivalent signal on, which is 100 microvolts. It does sound a bit harsh to me. Oh well, hang on, I'm listening through the extension. I need to plug the speaker back in, don't I? Into the instruments. It's down there somewhere. So there we are with our output. And that oscilloscope is simply across the speaker, and the Motorola Sinad meter is simply across the speaker. There's no clever ways of connecting it to other instruments. So, with the T12 there, let's just see whether we've got maximum audio. We haven't actually. Okay. You can just end up with people a little bit garbled if it's only minutely out. And of course, these can shift in transit, which is a bit frustrating. There's a cobweb there. That's great. So that won't affect the Sinad reading, but it can affect intelligibility. So now I'll put the bench light back on and we'll go over to the Sinad meter. Spot on. Just up the signal while we do these others. Yeah, I mean, it's apart from that detector, it's spot on. Let's get a new reading then for the Sinad. So, 4 watts. That's correct. That's done. So we'll get that back to 12. Okay, it has improved. But you know, we could... I mean, because it bounces around, I'm now reading 0.24. Because your noise floor is more than that. So you can't kind of, you know, might have got another 100 yards on the set. But, I mean, look, if we look at that Sinad meter, I'm now at 2.4, 0.24. If I go to the generous side, and put 0. Let's just have it that side of 12. We're now at 0.25 microvolts. If we have it the other side of 12, you know, we could still say that's 12, and we could say that's 0.35 microvolts, 0.25. I'll get this right, 0.235 microvolts. So, you know, it is an average because it is wandering around as they do. Now I've put it back, it's 0.25 microvolts, you know. So it is an adjustment you can argue about, but nevertheless that has improved it on receive, and I think it's the detector. So I don't want to start gluing these things down, but there you go. But you know, the vendor did service the set, and the set was serviced properly, and it wasn't doing stupid power. We brought it up 0.2 of a watt, but that could probably be because the vendor has erred on caution. So it's very satisfactory. Let's look at the S9, see if we can look at the S meter. I'll go to the attenuator controls for the squelch, ready for the squelch. So it's supposed to be S9 for 100 microvolts. It's absolutely spot on S9 for 100 microvolts. Had it not been, we'd have adjusted the preset there. Now let's look at squelch, because I want it to be able to squelch at 100 microvolts. Now this isn't in the service manual, this is my experience. Oh dear, there's something nasty catching just there. Don't know why that is. I just think the knobs have got pushed on a bit much in transit. You know what, I can't pull the, you know how strong my fingers are, I can't pull back the RF gain knob. Oh, I have done it. It's just that bit too far on so that it's touching against the escutcheon. There's a good word, that's the metal bit. So, just done that. I no doubt when the customer gets it back, it'll be back to where it was, as it's kicked down the railway station steps. I've got a story about railway station steps. So we're now on full squelch, and we're going to now go up to 100 microvolts, and it hasn't come in. So it's just a bit too strong for my liking. We'll back that off. There we are. Just give it a fraction less. There we are. That's how I want it to be. So now we'll turn the squelch down to minimum, turn the signal generator to standby, set the squelch to threshold, and put the signal generator back on. So let's see when it comes in. It's coming in at 0.26 of a microvolt, and it's going off at 0.24 of a microvolt. These don't have as good a hysteresis as some sets, but nevertheless, don't not buy a Cybernet 134 base set because the squelch can be better on some other sets. It's very adequate. So, it's certainly better than the Cybernet 002 F chassis used in the Mustangs, the Harvard base station, and the Amstrad Genuine. So we're done, and that is a very satisfactory result. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll put it on the roof aerial, just so we can kind of finish our video off. We always put it on the roof aerial, and we go 1.9 for a Roger. I keep switching it off with my fat tummy. And there's the door. Oh, that's the post. I think the speakers have come for the radiogram. Right, where were we? Yeah, I'm just going to put the aerial on this and do 1.9 a Roger. I was going to tell you all a story, of course. We can't usually have a tune-up from me without a story. But, of course, I'm now being put off by the lady with the post. I'll turn the signal generator off and the soldering iron off. One nine, Roger. You know, I know this is getting out.
I can hear you very well here.
I can tell he's not on 4 watts. Blooming SSB, which isn't authorised in any country up here. You know, this is what it really does annoy you when there's pirates doing this. Now we've got farmers use Channel 9. I don't think it's ideal, but you know, there you are. So there you go. It's a nice. There's just a bit of paint we can probably. It's ended up at some time in its career with a splash of paint. I don't want to scrape it off the silver because it's better for the white paint to be on the silver than the black plastic underneath. So we'll just leave that, but I have scraped that away, and there you go. So we're going to finish that power supply off. We're going to put the original mic back together when it's done in the dishwasher, and that's going to make the customer a very nice base station for decades. Thank you for watching the Harrier CBHQ base station from 1981.